Welcome back. In this video, we're going to dive into the Wabenour segmentation campaign. Now, this is a quick campaign you can send as a broadcast to your list to segment a portion out and allow them to raise their hand and express interest and restart a buying cycle. So in this example, we're going to go back to the HR or the payroll company because I think it's a great reason to send a webinar. If you're in that business, whether you're selling HR and payroll services or any relevant SaaS level or enterprise level solution, I believe that you should be leveraging webinars. It's a great way to do one-to-many type demos and consultative selling opportunities. So if you're going to do a webinar, let's look at how you would structure that campaign to send out to your broadcast list. So all of these email types are going to be registration, right? They're going to be registration emails. They're emails sent out to get people to register for your upcoming webinar. By registering, they're raising their hand saying, I'm interested in this, and telling you should host the webinar, but after the webinar, you should put me into an engagement series. You should continue speaking to me about whatever the topic of the webinar was because I've expressed interest. And remember, that is the goal and the only point and the job of the segmentation campaign is to allow people to self-select, express interest, and siphon off into an engagement or an ascension campaign, depending on how far up they go. So the first email I would send if I were in the HR payroll services company or business would be live training 10 steps to attract and keep A+ talent. Pretty good webinar title, right? Pretty good webinar title based on what I know about that business and specifically one of the biggest pain points. Now, it's not live training, 5 ways to get a discount when you buy my super expensive payroll service, right? It's not that transactional and dead on. You need to add value. In webinars, you're definitely adding value, and you need to speak to something that's relevant that you know that if they're interested in this, then they should be or might be interested in making a switch into your services. So you're kind of taking a side door in here, just like with a lead magnet. This would be a simple invite, and we'll break down one of our webinar campaigns and some of the webinar campaigns that I've seen that I really like in a separate demo video. But this should just be a simple invite. Hey, I'm hosting a live webinar next week in 2 days, whenever the date may be, where we're gonna title 10 steps to attract and keep A+ talent. In this webinar, we're gonna cover boom, 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 bullet points. I'd love to invite you as my guest. If you're available, just go here right now and let me know so that I can hold your spot. That's it. That's the whole email, right? This part gets them. If they're interested in this topic, they'll open the email. If a webinar is their thing, they'll go over. But remember, maybe they just ate dinner. If you're asking them to dinner and they're not engaging with this, it might not be because they don't care about attracting and keeping talent. It might not be because they don't like you anymore. It could very well be because you've selfishly chosen to host the webinar on a date and time when they're already committed to something else. How dare you? Are you starting to see the literal examples of something that was kind of done in a fun and playful mode in kind of the scenarios that we could be entering into in our broadcast and segmentation series? Hopefully yes, but I can't see you, so I don't know. So that would be the first email I'd send out. The second email would be less topic-based and more curiosity-based. So join me live tomorrow at 2 p.m. Now, if I've done a good job at building the relationship and going through the different phases, I'm no longer the guy. Remember in the very beginning of the campaign creation, we had the not scenario of the guy kind of looking at his cell phone, and we said your customers are not waiting by their phone for you to call or email them. Well, they still may not be waiting by their phone, anticipating your email, but when you email them, they know who you are. Right? They know why they engage with you. They know what value you add to their lives. So just this is going to get an open because you have a relationship, right? I could very easily text one of my friends and say, hey, are you available at 2 o'clock tomorrow? And I say, yeah, why? At that point, I might say, I was going to go hit some golf balls. They could say, man, I can't do that. I could do like lunch or coffee or something. Again, segmentation series. It's very appropriate for a friend or someone with enough relational collateral and enough of a relationship to say, what are you doing tomorrow at 2? To start the conversation, to get them to open, and then see, even if they are available tomorrow at 2, if they really want to participate in whatever you're doing. So the next email I would send, again, leveraging that relationship, would be, don't stand me up. Let's go with kind of a contrarian, or not as much contrarian as socially, or as like a social decorum-based email. Don't stand me up. Oh my gosh, did we have an appointment? I'm opening that up. So I'm going with a benefit-driven registration email. I'm going with a curiosity-based, and then I'm going with kind of a curiosity or an urgency-based. I send these 3 emails to my list. I'm only 1 point talking about what the topic of the webinar is in the subject line. The rest of the time, I'm just using the subject line to give them a different reason to open the email so that hopefully they read it and they can decide whether or not they're interested in attending a webinar on that topic tomorrow at 2 p.m. or today at 2 p.m. If so, they'll raise their hand and they will then go into an appropriate series and start the engagement. And remember, engagement is where most of the conversions happen. So in this case, the conversion on this campaign is to get them to register for a webinar. Now, once they're on the webinar, the conversion goal there is to get them to buy or to book a 15-minute appointment or to schedule a demo, right? See how the conversions move. Either way, by registering for the webinar, they restart the customer journey. They pick up wherever they left off. It gives you the ability to restart that sales cycle and that sales process with your customers and your process. Then finally, I'd send one last email, and this one's kind of optional. You could say, we're all waiting on you. This one's worked a lot in the past. If you know that you've got a fantastic webinar and really you need to get as many people on it as possible, one final email right before the webinar starts, 15 to 20 minutes maybe, we're all waiting on you. We'll get a ton of people on your webinar. Now, then it's up to you to engage with them as quickly as possible to get them to stay, right? To get them to stay. So that's the webinar campaign. In the next video, when we come back, we're going to talk about a less fun topic, but necessary all the less, re-engagement campaign, right? A re-engagement campaign. So I'll see you in that video.